marketing podcast, funky B2B marketing podcast. That's how we call it these days because we need to have B2B in the name. So we are on those lists as top podcasts, right? So today I'm joined by Itir Eraslan, my dear friend and somebody who I know over LinkedIn, and we've been back and forth a lot. I've been on her podcast, and it's time that she comes to mind. She's branding expert, host of the marketing meeting podcast, and I would say somebody fresh who talks about marketing culture and all this other stuff. And today we're diving into what makes brand truly iconic. We're going to explore her companies like Nike, where she worked a lot blend culture with marketing, and discuss some other stuff, amongst others, how to work, fractional roles strategically with companies. But before all that, Itir, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for not joining me because I'm so used to hosting guests. So my first reaction is said, thanks so much for joining me, but actually, thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, I don't know who was on my podcast and told me you're great and asking different questions, those kind of things, and I told him like it took me 4 years.
So, which episode are we on? Is it how many episodes have you done since the beginning?
To be honest, I only can count the one with guests, so it's 150,
Wow.
56, something like that, and there's around 50 episodes with me or somebody from who was part of my team in the past. So I think around 200 episodes, something like that.
Perfect. So bring it on. I mean, like I became a B2B marketer just 8 years ago. So I'm a B2C marketer, but I don't know if it matters or not because as much as I do B2B, I don't do different things. Many of the things still overlap, and I don't assume that I'm doing B2B marketing and changing the style that I'm working. So, but I mean, if I give too much of B2C examples, that's because that is the practicality, and it's easier to associate with some of the things that I'm going to explain.
Yeah, I totally agree, and thanks for sharing that. And I mean, some of the things matters when it comes to the B2B or B2C, and some don't. And I'm somebody who talks a lot on this podcast and in general about how B2B should adopt a lot of stuff from B2C, especially when it comes to the way we do marketing. Right, because in B2C is direct to consumer, and I think we are able to experiment a lot more and to test things out, and the conversion happens a lot easier because it's only one person that we need to convert, right?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, you get to a lot of insights faster, and then you can just iterate and go and get to desired action.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I agree on that. It's for me, it's a little bit more fun because B2B is kind of seen as a part of sales most of the time on the companies that I'm working with. And also on the other hand, with the B2B marketers, I recognize that people use a lot of abbreviations like MQL, SQL, and so on, which I feel that I don't belong to the space, although I'm a marketer. So, but that's another topic for another.
Yeah, especially in SaaS. When I entered B2B in 2019, I needed to learn all those expressions. There are even libraries out there of SaaS expressions. It's crazy, but it is what it is. And let's talk about something that I think it's unique for both B2C, and it is brand loyalty. Okay. Right? So I think in B2C it's much easier to get attached to the brand because it's what we wear, what we watch, how we interact with things personally. In B2B it's expensive products, even like factories or big companies and those kind of things, and usually we say it's not personal, but there are other side outside of the product that makes it personal. So like I don't know, like for example, do company care about ecology? Do they do something for the local community? or whatever it is. So let's talk about brand loyalty, because you mentioned B2B only related to the sales, because B2B companies are sales companies. But how do we make somebody not being too salesy, but actually increase the loyalty? Overall, let's talk about loyalty, whatever is on your mind.
I think brand loyalty is important and not so important depending on the case and so on. And then maybe it's important to understand what brand loyalty is. Do we think that a customer buys from us no matter what? Like even if we have a product deficiency or like a less better product or more expensive product, are they buying back from us? Are we trying to answer that with loyalty, or do we want to create a connection with the customer that they emotionally want to buy from us? So these are, I think, two different, approaches. And then, because at the end of the day, we want to have repeat customers. Why do we care about brand loyalty? Because we want that customer to still buy from us no matter what. And I have two contradictory opinions on that, because people say that first of all, one look to the brand loyalty is, does this brand solve a problem? So if it's just like, if you are trying to just sell a product and you're not obsessed with solving a problem, then probably sooner or later you're not going to gain too much of brand loyalty. So I'll give an example from two products and you're going to understand what I mean better. So one of them is a household product, which is like a disinfectant, countertop cleaner, which I'm using at the end. So it's like a B2C product, which is easier, as I mentioned, to give examples from. So the reason, for example, that I buy a specific brand for my house is that it's organic. It doesn't smell too bad. And also I can reach it very practically at the supermarket next to my house. And then it's also the brand that my housekeeper suggests me to use. Okay. But the thing is that it's called 7th generation, by the way. We can just give brand names. But I don't have any type of a brand loyalty or brand connection with 7th generation. I don't follow their Instagram. I don't know if they ever do any ads or like any interesting, purposeful messages, it doesn't matter for me. But I still buy from that brand because it's practical, it's available, it ticks one of the things that I want, which is it's organic and it's not smelling really bad. And it ticks another one, which is like my housekeeper wants to use this one. And also the spray, the bottle works properly, it doesn't crack and so on. So that's a brand that I'm loyal. If you call it loyalty, I'm loyal because I keep on buying the same brand. And as long as they don't change anything with the price, or as long as they stopped delivering to the supermarket that is next to my house, or as long as the bottle still works without a crack, I'm going to buy from them. This is one thing. So you would say, okay, brand loyalty, so they don't do anything purposeful to reach me. Or they don't, follow up with a mail or whatever. And the other brand that I'm going to give is, for example, a lifestyle brand, which is Nike, let's say, which is like or maybe not give a Nike brand, but like a fashion brand, a brand like COS, for example. I buy from COS a lot. But the reason I buy from them is that their style matches me. And I feel connected to the brand because whenever I enter their stores, someone is, greeting me with like some kind of interest. And then the lines that they have are matching to my personality and so on. And then even if they are sometimes not available to me, I would still continue buying from them. So these are the two things that I think people need to pay attention to. Especially, of course, brand loyalty comes a lot with the customer service that we are providing, other than the occasions from the household brand that I'm telling. But these are my things. So brand loyalty is important, yes, but it doesn't mean that we need to build a emotional connection with that person. And in that case, the meaning of brand loyalty loses its importance.
Yeah. Well said. A good example. I love that. We have a comment that says repetitive purchase is equal to loyalty until the best alternative comes along. And we all seen it. It's happening. But tell me, um, how connected is loyalty to the brand's identity, or is it connected? Some little philosophy that we can get into.
Um, it is sometimes connected because when you, okay, again, think about a supermarket. You enter the supermarket with a aim to buy a cleaner for your house. And you are used to buying the similar brands when you enter. And if they suddenly change something in their packaging and your mind is scrolling, your brain is trying to scroll through thousands of SKUs,
Yeah.
and or if they change their shelf space, you probably cannot see it while you are trying to rush to home to take care of the family and so on, that you would not buy that product. So I mean, I think in that sense, of course the brand image really matters because you are kind of, your brain kinds of links with the the product with the person, with the brand, and you want to see that one. So that's why I think it's really important when we are doing like major branding change, especially for FMCG, where you are competing with thousands of similar brands. I think packaging pays and also shelf space pays, is very important. But on the other hand, it's also like, for example, for a fashion brand, if suddenly they stop, doing, the right innovation and then the right product, you suddenly stop buying from them. But your question was about like more of the brand image or brand identity. What was that?
No, you explained it well. Exactly why I ask. If you change what's in the core identity of the brand, no matter if it's like from a visual side of the things or from the way we are using it, right? You get to lose your loyal customers because they may not recognize the brand anymore, or they don't have the use that they had from that brand, in the past.
And I think oftentimes the issue starts with the product line. If someone is used to buying a similar type of product with a similar type of quality, with a quality level, and you suddenly decide to lower that quality, or you suddenly decide to shift to a complete different fashion line, let's say, there is a risk that you're going to use people. But then then the question comes up to, maybe you want to do that intentionally because you want to capture another audience. Those are the things that we sitting here externally out of the brand's umbrella, we may just forecast. We may not know the exact reasons always why a brand does this or that. There's a very important example that I have, for example, And Other Stories is one of the fashion brands that I used to buy so much of their stuff. And they were doing, let's say, for example, this one is from there, for example. But lately, probably they changed their fashion or like their creative direction, also for the collections. Last 3 years, whenever I go there, it's flowers, a lot of colors, that I stopped buying from them because it's a complete different brand now. I mean, it's just like what it used to be is now different than what it is right now, both in terms of quality and in terms of also the style that they were offering to me as a person. So, but maybe that's that because they see that not. I mean, They don't have too much of Iters in the world, and they don't want to. They want to catch up with some other customer profiles. So I cannot blame them for doing something wrong.
Yeah, you look at yourself from the customer's perspective in this case.
Always. Not in this case, always. I'll look from the customer's perspective.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so let's shift the gears a little bit. So you work with Nike for a long period of time, and Nike, when we think about them, lifestyle branding. It's sports, and then they move it outside of the sports to the everyday street style and all these things. So, what would you say are some of the elements of their strategy that like most of the brands should adopt, or should they just adapt them, or should they just copy some of those?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, talk from whichever standpoint do you want. I want people who are in B2B to listen to it, no matter if you
Yeah.
take that stand, because I think we need to start thinking that way, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm always saying, like, sure, we have like software products, those kind of things, but user experience is the same, and we can relate to it no matter what we do. How we tell the stories can be from the lifestyle um, angle. They don't need to be, oh, we are just sharing the screen and talking about how we use the specific product. It can be a lot more different.
Mhm. I'll start with one thing. First of all, not every brand needs to embrace a lifestyle, needs to try to be a lifestyle brand. Just think about Amazon, for example. They are just delivering very fast and it's convenient, it's the best price, and so on. Is Amazon a lifestyle brand? For me, not.
No.
Maybe there are some elements that matches to the lifestyle brand boxes, but not. But they are solving a problem. They are delivering me the product very fast manner, and sometimes, even though I don't like some of the things that they do, it's very convenient, and they are pushing for, like, there's one strategy that they have and they are going through that, so they don't need to adopt a lifestyle brand strategy. But for brands, which is the fun part for me, that's how I feel, being a lifestyle brand and doing marketing for a lifestyle brand is good, because of some certain reasons. For example, if we want to give an example from Nike, which is a good example, and it's also an easy example, by the way, because sports is a big thing in people's life. It can change their lives for better. It can create fans. And it's really, there are so many rich stories that you can weave around the brand. So it was, I was lucky to work with a brand like that in my first marketing role. So when you look at Nike's mission, it's to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And meaning from athlete, if you have a body, you're an athlete, which means like everyone can be an athlete in Nike's mind. So this mission, probably only a part of the world knows that. They don't need to scream out loud from the rooftops saying that, okay, this is our mission and love us. It's not that. That mission is the starting point of every strategic decision that they are giving, not only on the brand side, but also on the other business channel side. For example, when you say inspiration and innovation, if you want to bring inspiration and innovation to every people in the world, look at their campaigns. They're all inspirational campaigns. Look at their past Nike towns, because now I'll move on to why they are not performing good right now. The Nike towns would be like a place that you enter and you get inspired by the store design, by the products that you see, by the music that you hear, by the stuff that you see. They are like inspiration athlete people. They were like hiring all these coaches and so on. So that box was checked. And then the other part is bringing innovation, which means like Nike was an innovation company and it's trying to get back to its roots of coming up with innovation. And so as a brand, they keep on pushing the inspiration and innovation pillars constantly for many years, like decades, let's say. So when I was working at Nike for marketing, every monthly plan, because we used to create like seasonal plans, because there's like an innovation coming up, which is like a new shoe coming up. And it's an innovation and you have to tell the story of that innovation. But you have to always inspire with some kind of a brand message that is matching to that innovation. So every season when I was building my plans, it needs to have, okay, how do I inspire the customers? And how do I bring this innovation land into the local market with which message? And that message might be different for the customers in US, and it might be different sometimes for the customers in Eastern Asian country. So that's why I think the thing that people, I think, should know about missions, visions, purpose, and those type of things is that those things should be things that drives your strategic decisions as a brand. And that's what I can say about Nike being a great brand, because for many years, because they follow this inspiration and innovation for so many years. And the reason that they didn't perform well over the last year, which was like always a discussion in press and so on, because they changed their retail strategy and they started not putting enough product to the stores. The stores suddenly lost their inspiration point. And because they say that we are going to move to Nike.com, we will sell more from there. And then also they stopped innovating, and the innovation teams inside the company shrank, and most of the best minds in innovation, they left. So that's why, I mean, for example, right now there's a new CEO, which is like an old VP of Nike coming back. And the first thing that he's doing right now is he's pushing the innovation lever, so that they're again coming back to the inspiration and innovation company.
Yeah, you now reminded me of a few things. First one is I'm going to take it to the Airbnb.
Okay.
I don't know if you know the story, but during the pandemic, they had really hard times, right? Everybody suggested that they're doomed. But what Brian Chesky did, he got back to the Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
and what he did with Apple, and said, okay, let's look at the company. Product people are spending so much time doing the project work, all these kind of things. We have so many different campaigns when it comes to marketing running around all around the globe. There's no order over there. Everybody's doing what they want. We look different in all these aspects, and we try to control all of them, and nothing is happening. We are not rolling out the new features, not satisfying the customers. So he said, what we're going to do, you're going to all respond to me. Nothing goes out until I approve it. And at the same time, he stopped, like, product people should take care of the product, and not only inbound, meaning only from the technical side, but also from the outbound side, meaning owning the story as well. And what we can control when it comes to marketing is going to go from strategic standpoint on a global level, and all the small departments in the countries will just react to it and act accordingly to that. We won't control that. We cannot control that. We can just control whatever we can control. And so now what they do, once a year, they ship, I think, around 50 features. They gather the feedback from the customers, they work on it, and they just ship features for the customers, right? And transform from that side. And it's kind of interesting, how owning the strategy, owning the story, and if we talk about in theory, it should stop the company from moving forward, right? Because it's just one guy, Brian Chesky, the CEO, who is saying yes or no if we should ship something. If he cannot do it, they don't ship it, right? But it turns out the way he structured the company, that's how they move forward faster.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of interesting. Yeah.
I think one important thing to keep in mind is that there is no template that you can apply, plug and play to another company. Even if they are producing the same product, you cannot plug and play the brand strategy or marketing tactics or strategic approach. Because, as you said, I mean, brand and marketing teams, they are not working in their isolated environment and doing things that's like a magic stick. It's about like operational, sales, founder, which areas the company is strong at, because I think it's like a collective effort of a company. That's why every company needs to have their own strategy rather than plug and playing some other people's tactics or strategic approach. And actually, like, the worst thing that you can do is probably plug and play the same tactic of the competition without having, well, sometimes it can work, of course, but if you don't have the same muscle strength, if you are not trained the same way that they are trained, then it's going to probably fail. And you will need to find the differentiation point to stand out in the game.
Very well said. Another example I wanted to mention, I cannot say the name of the company, but they were working in a procurement industry. And the thing that was interesting is, everybody in that industry were just growing with the market, meaning not innovating, right? They were satisfied enough with those things. And when you're doing that, you're basically losing in the long run without actually realizing that, right? We just said it, and I think we should repeat it so people know marketing goes hand in hand with innovation.
Yeah.
They cannot go one without each other. And what the company did, I was lucky enough to be on the right side. So they innovated, meaning added a few more features which were new and allowed them to get ahead of the competitors, rebranded, came up with a new website, and just at one moment they say, we are doing this now. This was the company the website we were building. From the SEO standpoint, they just rename it, rebuild it, and get ahead of everybody, left everybody in the dust, right? And they weren't even aware that something like that is happening, because sometimes, it's not something you look for the competitors. They innovate, then I'm gonna innovate, right? It's something that you that gets from you knowing the market and knowing the customers.
So I think this is a great example. It's like I love giving examples from sports, not because of my Nike background, but I love doing sports and I love watching sports. I know that you do too. When you remember the track and field at least, when they are running, they are focused on their front. But you see that they check very little to their backs when they are, because they need to watch out. For example, if it's like a 100-meter track, then you have to watch who's coming behind you, but your focus is to the front. I think that should be how brands should look like. You should not look always to the back, seeing what the competition is doing, or hopefully you are looking to the back, not to the front, and to check the competition. But your focus should always be, what am I doing? How am I going to reach there? I think that's a critical one to pay attention to. Of course, checking what competition is doing is important, but it's like the amount that you do that should be less than how much you look ahead of the game.
Yeah, I wanted to go in a different direction, but now you reminded me of something. Do you implement that when it comes to you and your services?
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give you a context, because I figured out just this last week that I stopped innovating.
Okay.
And that's why I was kind of like miserable and not having the same energy to move forward. And when I realized that, I made my positioning, my messaging, everything in 2 days, and now I'm coming up with a redesign of the website towards the target audience and everything else, and moving up market, because this is what I should have done a lot of months ago.
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, I'm asking you.
I always, when I work, I'm lucky that I only stopped. There was only 1 year that I didn't have any clients, which was COVID year, and it was my first year in the business. As if it was just picking up, and then we had COVID, and for a year
we started at the same time. Did you start the company in 2020?
No, 2018, towards the end of 2018. So I had 1 year, I was picking up, and then COVID hit, and it was like like
got it.
one big stop.
For me, it meant that everything went up in the COVID.
Yeah, and then that was the only time that I was like not sure what to do, and I was, reading, listening, everything that I could find. But the way that I double check how am I doing, how am I adding value, is by looking to the projects that I'm doing. And it's the same for brands, I think, for personal brands, for brands like us, like our companies, our agencies, and also for B2B, B2C brands. Everything starts with the customer. And I always have this self-check with my mind. The thing that I'm doing right now, is it adding any value to the customer? If I was in their site, how would I feel getting services from me? And then also I check competition, seeing that what are others doing. And the thing is that I try to implement a method that works for me, because the thing that competition companies are like other brand strategies, other branding agencies are doing, some of the things are not matching to my style, to my values, to how I work and how I want to operate. And since the beginning, everyone is telling me you need to find bigger teams, you have to scale with more people, more teams, and so on. And you have to really push, like with the smaller agencies, startups, because that was where a lot of startups needed help. But that didn't work for me, because I didn't want to have like a huge team, because I managed huge teams in the past, but I wanted to be more flexible. I don't want to lock myself into my business. So that's why, I mean, how I innovate is I always double check what I'm doing right now and does it add value to the company. And even sometimes I go enter the areas in the businesses that I should not be entering, meaning that, okay, I also give advice about their HR policies, or if a founder needs to have an assistant, or if the founder needs to change how their sales team operates. If I have an idea about that, I don't keep it to myself, and I don't say, okay, I'm doing just marketing for these guys and I'm paid only to do marketing. I will really jump in and question that and spend enough time with that person, with the founder, to fix that. Because I know that it's going to affect me at the end, because if their sales operations is not working, they're not going to sell. And it will affect also my performance, I mean, because they are not selling. So that's why, I mean, I always check from the customer side, is it adding value? But also on my side, is it the thing that I want to do? Because not always customer decides. It's the customer that you want to work with decides, not every customer.
Yeah, I love that, and that's why I asked you basically describe what I was thinking, because I'm usually that guy as well, right? I think I talk a lot with a couple of people that I'm working with daily, and I think it has something to do with us being seniors in our roles, having experience, and we are not a good fit to enter the company in house, right? And I see that as a lot of companies are hiring like people who are meteors or juniors, but meteors on a high level position, because seniors question things not only related to their job, but how the company is managed, how the things, because they have experience, they have seen things, especially if they worked in similar industry and they know what they are doing. So it's a little bit hard. But on the other hand, if you bring somebody like that on a fractional role, can help a lot and can advance the company in every single way that person touches.
I have mixed feelings actually with the fractional roles. Although I'm doing fractional CMO for brands, and the reason that I have a problem with, it's personal. It may not be the case for others. First of all, I don't love the word fractional, like as a term. The branding needs to change. And I kind of changed it lately to consulting CMO rather than a fractional CMO. Because fractional still matches you with the hours that you spent.
Also the part-time CMO matches kind of the hours.
Yeah. And the other thing is that if you don't pay enough attention, or if you don't have the right methodology to be a fractional CMO in a company, or if the company's marketing team is not structured well enough to work with a fractional CMO, it can be just like a full-time job. I mean, you open the day, which I found myself a few months ago in the same position. I was like, on Mondays, I had this huge email list, and I was asked to perform things that I should not be doing, because I'm like, my services may be more expensive for that. Or, if they use my hour for that, they're going to end up getting some mediocre level experience. So I started thinking that, okay, I'm working for clients. It's fractional roles. I'm working on weekends to cover up my fractional, because I act like a full-time person. And it's just like getting mails, and I need to get back to the mails in an hour. because everyone is expecting a lot from me. And then I suddenly now in a position thinking about this fractional CMO thing, and I kind of changed the way that I'm giving my services lately just because of that. So I don't want to feel like I want to be I'm just working like a full-time employee at a company, and that's, I think, everyone needs to find their own path of doing fractional work. And there was an interesting discussion that I have with another person from the industry. And I think I'm going to ask this question to the audience and leave it there without any answer, because they cannot contribute to the speech. He said he's wondering if because we always think that retainer is the best thing that you can have. Like if you have a retainer for a year, that's perfect, then you are good because you are secured. But he says, like, what if I do project basis and help the same brand partner up with the same brand on a project basis based on their needs rather than having a retainer thing? And he recognized that he might earn more in that model rather than a retainer model. If you leave your stresses behind, not doing, lacking retainer contracts, then it should be the case. And when I do the calculation, I think retainer versus project base might win in some cases.
Yeah, I totally agree. I had that situation when I talk about working with Wix, and you know how much the project costs, what are the KPIs and those kind of things. It's not a retainer. It's like, this is how many months it's gonna take us to come up to do this. These are the KPIs, weekly, monthly, however do we say it, and this is the pricing for that, right? So from that standpoint, yeah, where I'm going for me and for my services, the way I see it, I want to become a partner to the company. Meaning I might start with a 3-month sprint to do specific thing, achieve a specific goal, establish a specific muscle, I don't know, like do a specific campaign or an event, whatever it is, see if we are a fit. Then I move more into something that is part-time or fractional, or however do we call it. I don't call it fractional as well, just when we talk it feels familiar. But then, I want to, maybe if they don't have anybody from the team, I can include somebody else to help them with other stuff, right? I'm still getting the provision for that. And I'm helping them get closer to the goal with that. And, and a lot more people in the ecosystem are happier, right? And we are all moving forward together. So that's kind of the thing that I'm looking for. I want the company never to leave if we are a good fit. Yeah. Right. From that standpoint, that's how I'm looking at it. But tell me, I often see you, especially on the weekends when I scroll and I see a lot of posts, because not many people post on the weekends. So I can see the post from the people who posted even a few days before. But you take photos of different billboards, campaigns. You look around you. So anything that that you remember that kind of feel like I don't know, like this is something that was a bold campaign that I see that they took risk, but it paid off. Maybe you wouldn't do that, but they did it and it paid off, or I don't know, or something that just made you laugh. I think those kind of examples are always good.
Yeah, I mean, I love, probably, this was actually this discussion with a friend that I had last week, because I mean, when I shop, when I work, when I see a post on LinkedIn or so on, I suddenly have an idea about that. And oftentimes I either get fun or sometimes it's like very interesting, and then it challenges my status quo, also even my status quo. And also on the streets, I sometimes see good examples, but I oftentimes see a lot of wrong examples and funny examples, because and I can clearly see why that happened, because of the internal backstage moments. So that's why I liked sharing it. And my friend, like, we were having fun because there was like this billboard and we had so much fun out of it. And he said like, why don't you take a picture and post it? And I'm just like, I mean, I don't want to, make someone upset about it. Or of course I can share it and make a fun out of it, but I don't want to make up that person, the brand manager, upset because of that. Because I mean, I have empathy for those people as well. So that's why I mean, like, and he said like it would be really fun to watch you on LinkedIn if you were just like this, there, like very without any limits, without any let's say filters and so on. I'm sometimes wondering maybe I will just like remove a little bit of the filters that I put to what I say or what I feel. But again, it's just like, does it make any sense? I share if I see something really wrong, I share it, and I just like it's not like I share it not because of the fact that I want to make this person sad or like the team sad. I just want to share it because I want to correct it. I want to correct something in the system sometimes. I don't know if it pays off because I'm just like, I have almost 6,000 followers and I don't know if it really helps. But it's just like, I also don't throw like even a small piece of paper rubbish to the street because I know that it may help. So that's the mindset that I have. Yeah. But if you want a recent example of an ad that I don't like, I can always talk about that.
Where I want to go, and now we kind of get the foundation for that. Let's talk about the storytelling and the importance for and where I want to get specifically is, challenger brands, not looking at Nike or Apple or whatever it is, like, but what can smaller companies, challenger brands, how they can use storytelling, and which parts of the creates the whole story of the company that they can use to kind of get ahead maybe of the bigger players.
I think the storytelling word, like frame, is kind of overused nowadays. Just like the word authentic, or I don't know, like there are some words. Yeah, because not every brand needs to tell a story. Just like the example that I gave from a household cleaning plant, they don't need to tell a story to me, and I don't need to listen to their story. But it doesn't mean that every household brand needs to just avoid storytelling. It just depends on if there's some kind of a story worth telling. And sometimes it can be like a founder story. It can be like an innovation story. It can be how you establish this company. But it really depends if it will resonate with what you are delivering, your product, your audience, because storytelling is at the end of the day something about you. And if you keep it a lot about you without creating some curiosity around it and some willingness to watch it and follow it, then it will just be something like a thing that you talk about to yourself. Because the mistake that I see from storytellers or storytelling ads, let's say, they think that it's an interesting way to catch hook, like to create curiosity, but it's not. It requires some wit, some cleverness, some thinking, and also it requires you to understand the customer. And we were almost going to wrap up in in 10 minutes. We're just going to close. And the most important thing that I can tell to people that are listening or to the brand marketers that are listening is that a lot of things are solved if you understand the customer. And also understanding the customer is another frame that is overused, although I know that. I think it's important to understand the customer, and customer cannot be understood by looking to data only.
Or just listening to the customer.
Yeah, listening to the customer. But the thing is that knowing your customer is nowadays associated with the assumptions of the founder of the team about the customer. The team sits in a boardroom, in a meeting room, or in their homes, and they assume that the customer is like this or that based on some data or their people that are buying from them and so on, or like their buying habits. But it's actually a bit complicated than that, because we know that data doesn't reflect that customer's decision making. I mean, we can be living at the same building, looking exactly similar, wearing exactly similar things, but our data from both different homes might say different things because, for example, my computer is also used by my husband or my kids. You know what I mean? When we know that there's a data problem. And understanding your customer depends on how much you are interacting with them. Oh, is it a bird?
Oh yeah. What a fuck. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to wrap up or shall we watch? It's like a huge
Give me a second to open the window. What the fuck? Interesting.
That's more interesting than what I'm telling right now. Okay. Is it gone now?
No, but I will find her later.
Does it often happen?
Yeah, probably like the guy who works here from here and there left the window too open for some reason. So yeah, but that was a unique episode.
And I was like talking very excitedly. Yeah, that person saying, no, you are more interesting. I know. I mean, like bird nature is always more interesting than a brand strategist talking about understanding the customer.
Yeah, see, somebody said on LinkedIn that now we are more interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so getting back to all that, do we actually need a big budget to be able to tell the story, or it can go back to what you just said and just kind of get out of that the whole story?
No, you don't need a big budget, but you need a budget. That's what I can say. But you don't need a big budget. The thing is that with big brands, of course, they can, make big influencers wear their stuff, use their product, and or they can do big advertising that is reaching to millions of people. But the thing is that a good thing about a small brand is they are scrappy. They can be scrappy, but they have the option to connect deeper with the customer, with the clients. They can really tell small stories, and they can also take bigger risks in terms of communication also. Because what if let's say a brand like Nike, if they do a mistake, it's going to be millions of people that are hearing it. Even the president of the United States will hear it. But if you're a small brand, of course, there's a risk. If you do really fail in communication, there's a risk. But you can sometimes try different things, explore things till you understand the customer. And also you can really build small connections. But I suggest to smaller brands is that you don't need to do everything. You don't need to do the things that your competition is doing. You just need to focus on what really matters for your brand and for the customer base that you are talking to. Rather than doing 10 things, you should always try to minimize it to maybe one or two things that matters most.
Yeah, that's and that's where the real differentiation is, right? When you are able to kind of do what your competitors aren't doing. And I always say that, you don't need to have all the features and everything. Oh, it's here again.
Yeah.
Probably she will get out.
I guess.
I hope the window is open, so we'll see. But the thing is, you don't need to develop all the feature and every feature that your competitors are. The goal is to get just that one that will differentiate you from the others.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I'm just waiting for the bird to come to your shoulder and join us on this live.
Yeah, that's what fun means, right? So,
Yeah.
so a friendly conversation with a bird,
Bird
bird
loyalty.
loyalty.
A new customer acquisition.
Yeah, acquire to be a permanent guest on the show.
Yeah. If you feed them. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we now have more topics to jump in after the new year in another episode. We're going to come back to the podcast, but tell me and everybody listening where they can find you, more information about you, and actually, if you hear something that's interesting or you want to get Itir's help with that, where they can find you.
I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I sometimes share on Instagram like a weekly,
Nice.
snapshot of my life, like the things that happened during the week, like funny things. But I'm usually on LinkedIn. Itir Eraslan is my name, my handle. I have a podcast, which is the marketing meeting, and I meet experts, marketing experts or brand founders like Nemanja. And then just say hi. And I really value one-on-one conversations. If you just send me an email, I'm going to reply. I'm not going to just not reply.
Perfect. Now, guys, is the moment where I tell you to go back to the beginning of the episode. Check out everything that Itir said. She said some really essential stuff. I would say that you need to think about and to kind of implement. Go back, check the bird again. So if you are not watching this, go find the video version. And Itir, thanks a lot for coming here, talking with me. We're gonna do this definitely again, or who's our podcast. Guys, for you, what I can say for the end, as I always say it, like keep it funky. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, keeping it fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you later.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.